are. Just want to thank everybody for tuning out today who came in the store, and for all of you who are watching us from wherever. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Tom, and he's going to tell you all about organic lawn care and how to have a more beautiful lawn without using any kind of toxic chemicals whatsoever.
Okay, can you hear me? That's the first thing I want to know, if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
You're good? All right. On the handout that we put out there, I'm having this one comment that you say about synthetic. If you don't want to read that, you can. It's basically, I don't agree with it, and a lot of people do not agree with the synthetic. We want to go with what is organic, what is natural, what is in our system. One of the problems we've had is one of the reasons why we have to take our vitamins nowadays is because all the nutrients and all the vitamins are out of the soil. So what we're trying to do is recreate that situation, trying to put things back. One thing I forgot to have put up here is what's called azomite. Azomite is A to Z, and what it does is it puts in all the nutrients and all the minerals and vitamins that our soil used to have. But now, that's pretty much, we don't have any. So we're trying to put those back in. First on your list, if I'm not mistaken, should be lava sand or green lava sand. Is that the first one? Okay, why do we like to use lava sand? All right, lava sand will green things up. If you think about lava, volcanoes, what do you think about? Hawaii, the tropics, where everything is nice, green, luscious. This is what the lava sand is going to do to it. It puts lots of nutrients into the soil and into the plants. If you have a clay soil, and a lot of us do, then the green sand, what it's going to do is it's going to go in there and it is going to break up the clay. So if you have like St. Augustine and you see little batches of yellow grass blades, then that is probably a good indication that the clay is locked up, and it's locked up all the nutrients and locked up all the water. So if you put the green sand in, what that's going to do is it's going to break that area up. So this should be lush. I had that problem earlier this year because my wife and I did some revamping our flower beds. Well, we were packing, and I got to the problem where, okay, nothing's working. So I had to go in, put in the green sand, and within, what would you say, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, it was back green again. So it does work. So anything that I'm going to talk to you about also, I'll tell you if I've used this stuff. I've used this. I've used the lava sand, I've used the green sand. I know it works. If you're going to redo your sod or your soil, or let's see what's the best way of putting it. If you're going to redo your lawn and you're going to pull all the grass up and redo it, I would highly suggest putting in the expanded shell. What that also will do will keep you from having issues with your soil locking up. Yes, sir.
Can you give us an idea of, you put the lava sand anywhere on the lawn?
Yes.
Every year put a spread of it or something, or do it once?
You can put out lava sand anytime you want. I put it down in April.
Once a year? Give us an idea of.
I think it covers 1,000 square foot.
What?
1,000 square foot.
For that bag?
For that bag. Okay. So if you're going to redo your soil, if you're going to redo the yard, I would highly suggest putting in the expanded shell. Just because it's going to help. It will prevent you from having to use the green sand if you have the expanded shell in there, because it's going to do the very same thing. The only difference is it's going to do it from the very get-go. You don't have to worry about having to break up your clay soil. Now, right now is the perfect time to put down corn gluten. Now, there's two trains of thought on this. You want to use the meal? If you put this down when it's windy, you're going to look like you're going into the fryer as a catfish. If you put this down, the corn gluten granular is like fertilizers. The only difference is this is already set and it's already broke down. So when you put it down, it's ready to go. This has to break down. But what I would do on the meal, on the gluten granular, is I would go this way with your fertilizer spreader and then this way with the fertilizer spreader. Now, anytime you see any kind of a weed, you have got to get this stuff down. And I would put it down. I put it down a couple of times a year. I put it down 2 to 3 times in the fall and 2 to 3 times in the spring. The reason is, it's an inexact science. We don't know when the weed seeds are going to germinate. What this does is it prevents the seed. It will, when the seed germinates, it will have a stem. This prevents the stem from having roots, the roots. If you don't have roots, then you're not going to live. And that's what you're trying to prevent. So this will hold it down. So as far as putting it down, I would put it down like right, we've had rain. I would put this down now. I would water maybe 5 minutes. All you want to do is get this into the soil, and where you can stop the grass seeds from growing. And there's several different kinds of this will hit. Now understand, there are grassy weeds and broadleaf weeds. It depends on when you put it down as to what kind of weed you're going to hit. And it's not, like I said, it's an inexact science. We don't know exactly when to put this stuff down. But personally, like right now, I put it down. I was going to put it down earlier this week, but when I saw how much rain we were going to have, I opted not to. The reason is it's going to wash it all off, and I don't want the stuff. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. But I mean, I don't want to have to do the job 3 or 4 times with it all washing off. But this is what I would use right now. Okay, one thing I did not put on there was watering, and I'm going to go over that watering right now. When you water, you need to water deeply, infrequently. So if you're in like 80 degrees, 70 degrees, 80 degrees, I would do that maybe once a week. Water it for about 20, 25, 30 minutes, depending on what you have as far as grass. You want a deep watering. So what you can do is get one of the tuna fish cans, put it out in the center where your grass is, and turn your sprinkler system on, or whatever sprinkler you use. When that fills up to 1 inch, that should be a good indication of how much water your yard is going to need. Now, if you have an automatic sprinkler system, turn that thing to off. Manually do it yourself, because just because your rain gauge says we're good to water, the grass might not need it. And what you're trying to do when you fertilize, you're trying to fertilize the soil, not the grass. That's one of the reasons why the so-called weed and feeds don't work. If you want a weed and feed, here you go, right here. This is going to give you nitrogen, but it's also going to shut down the weeds. Mowing heights, right? Is that where I'm at? Okay. Mowing heights. If you look on that next page, if you have any of these grasses this will tell you a good indication of where you need to mow the grass at the right height. So if you have St. Augustine, you need to have it at least 2 inches, and if you get 3 inches, that's when you need to mow it. But you never want to take off more than 1/3 of the grass at one time. Other than that, you're going to run into situations where you're going to stress the grass out. Another one for grasses is the Command. This is a really good product by Meyer. It's a soil builder. And it's really, I have used this, so I can say, yes, it does work. So if you have issues with the soil, this is what you want to do. Also, like if you have a brown patch, then this is a good thing to run and use. Now, I'm gonna get into the fertilizers. And I don't wanna get on my soapbox, but anything that has a high nitrogen, then you wanna stay away from, other than this right here. But if you look at what they have as far as the nitrogen, if you use a synthetic, that is not very good for the soil, because all they're gonna do is feed the grass. And essentially, usually it's going to be in a high nitrogen. And the high nitrogen is really bad for your grasses. So if you want to use a low fertilizer, I would go with a compost or dry molasses. If I'm not mistaken, I think the molasses is 105 and the compost is 101 or 111. This is a good fertilizer. Compost is a very good fertilizer. The ones that I have used in the past where is it? This is my favorite. My wife hates it. It does smell like poultry, but it really works on my yard. I've been using it for years now. I was using the Texas tea, and the Texas tea is good too. One of the advantages Texas tea has over this one is this also feeds your plants. And this is strictly for grass. But this is the one I use, and it's one of those that I cannot put this in my wife's car because it smells like a hen house. So I have to bring my truck if I want to buy some. So any questions right now? I would not go with the nitrogen, the highest I would go would be a 6. That's me. But if something like a 10-1-1 works for you and your grass looks great, don't change it. But I don't like anything higher than a 6 is the highest I would go. And that's nitrogen. Because nitrogen is just for a green up. And what you want to do is, not only do you want to green up your grass, but you also want to feed your soil. When you feed your soil, you're getting your trace minerals in here, into the soil. And when you feed the soil in turn is going to feed your grass. When you mulch, you mow and you mulch, you're actually refertilizing your yard, because the fertilizer that you put into the soil is coming up into the grass. You're mulching the grass and you're putting that fertilizer right back into the grass. So you're actually double fertilizing.
So what's the timing? So we do the work now, and when do we do the fertilizer?
You can fertilize, some people fertilize 3 times a year. I fertilize 4 times a year. Because at my age, it's easy to remember. I do it once a quarter. And I always start in February. But pay attention, if we have like I said, December, and you have 75 degrees, 80 degrees temperatures, and then we have rain coming in, you have a good possibility that those reed seeds are going to regerminate and they're going to start growing again.
And then what other times do you do it?
January, February for sure. I was telling everybody to put them down in February. Well, I was about 2 months too late. So, like I said, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, but I try to give everybody the most correct information that I know. I've had 3 good teachers. I've had a guy named Mike Ferguson, Tammy, who's a store manager here, really good, and then of course Howard Garrett. So I know a lot of people are not too thrilled with Howard, but that's where I have my certification from. And then I have Joyce is a really good source of information as well.
If you put it down September, November, and December, do you get too much nitrogen?
It's all right. I know, heard the first part.
If you put it down September, November, and December, do you get too much nitrogen?
Yeah, you kind of have to watch it. But now, once it goes to sleep, when the grass goes to sleep, you're okay. The ones that are going to come alive, it's not going to be the grass, it's going to be the weeds will come alive. So if you start seeing green, like Poa annual, which is coming up a lot right now, then you definitely want to get on top of that. Because once that starts, it's hard. It's not hard to control, but it's just one of those that's there and it looks ugly. Yeah, and then of course you also have the Joyce, purple flower, henbit. Thank you. The henbit. When the henbit's going to pop up, you need to get that out of there. You know, some people like henbit because it's a purple flower. Others, it's a weed and they don't want it in their yard. So you can either dig it up, or since everything else is asleep, you can get one of these. You can use vinegar. Weed Crush is really good. I've used Weed Crush and I've used the vinegar. I like the vinegar. I use either 30%, 3 drops, no, hold on, let me think. I put orange oil in here. I get a sprayer and I put 3 ounces of orange oil in with this right here. And what that does is it makes it stick to the foliage. So the vinegar will work on it, but the orange oil makes it sticky. So it sticks to the foliage and it doesn't run off. That's one of the things you have to watch out for, is when you put a weed killer on there, you have to be careful because some of these are non-selective. You have selective and non-selective. Selective are more or less going to hit your broadleaf weeds, whereas your non-selective is going to hit your grassy weeds. There's very few that I know of that will kill a grassy weed. Would you consider crabgrass a grassy weed or a broadleaf?
Grassy weed.
Agulon would work.
Yeah.
Agulon would work.
Yeah, Agulon is labeled for crabgrass.
It's really good for crabgrass. It's good for any kind, like a dollar weed. It didn't say on the label at one time, dollar weed, but I tried it and it kills dollar weed. The only problem with the Agulon is it really needs to have warm temperatures. It says on there you can do it any time of the year. It seems to work better for me when you get 80 degrees and above. That's when it works really good. And what you do is you soak it down with water, and then you put it on there, and it goes on with gold. It looks gold or yellow, and eventually it goes black, and when it's black, that weed is dead. And it works really good on Virginia buttonweed too. Molasses is also good if you have fire ants. For some reason, they don't like molasses. Molasses works. There's another thing, and I forgot to bring it out, called Stimulate. Stimulate has humic and molasses in it as well. It's kind of like crack for grass. So I always put that down in August because it's kind of like it recharges the soil. And the soil in turn is going to recharge the grass, and everything is going to be nice and green. So we have any other questions?
Interaction with everything else in it.
As far as the nematodes, beneficial nematodes, no, they're no. I wouldn't worry about that. Only chemical fertilizers I worry about, because one of the problems, like we have insects and people want to kill. They have these companies come out and kill all the insects. The problem is when you kill bad insects, you're killing the good insects. The pathogens come back faster. Also,
We used it a lot for our landscape customers.
and are you sure it's chinch bug? Okay. Because I know a lot of people say, well, I have chinch bugs, and I've told them, I know some people use the can. Well, I tell them to get a piece of paper and get to the area where they were, but they're not, because they're not going to be where they've eaten. They've already eaten there. They're going to go over here. So just take your hand and flick, and if you see chinch bugs there, then that's when you treat it. Yeah, that's the problem. Once you use any kind of chemical, all of the money that you spend on organic, you just throw it out the window. You can detox your yard. Carbon.
The Miramichi would help.
Miramichi, yeah, your carbon.
That would help to lop of the toxins
Yeah.
that we're making. So thank you all for being here today. And this will be on posted on Facebook for later viewing. So thanks again.